Hello, everyone. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I am so excited to be here with everyone. This is a really fun topic, and as always, we've got actionable information and training for you. So buckle up. This is going to be a fun hour. My name is Erin Zabarak, and if you've gotten an email from me recently, you might notice it says Ansira on there. And that is because at Synchro, we are excited to fully integrate into Ansira, combining our marketing services, our proprietary technology platforms, and we are raising the bar in solving today's marketing challenges. As part of this full integration into Ansira, the Synchro social media accounts, I know you see my face on there all the time, the website, we are sunsetting those as of March 31st. So stay connected with us, follow Ansira, bookmark our website, lots of QR codes here on the screen. Keep coming to these webinars. It's the same great team. I am really excited for all of us. But I know why you're here. You're here for the webinar. So like I said, for those of you joining for the first time, my name is Erin. I will be your host today, and I am joined by two fantastic presenters, Michael Strasburger, Liz Nelligan, both a part of our media and advertising teams. And check out those cool badges. They are Pinterest experts. So I am so excited. You know, we were going to be joined by a few specialists from Pinterest, but I don't have to tell any of you how life and schedules can be big challenges. Unfortunately, something unavoidable came up. So I know the Pinterest team was disappointed, but the good news is they gave us all their content. Plus, I know we are in excellent hands with Michael and Liz. So thank you both for joining me today.
Absolutely. Excited to be
Thank
here.
you. Same.
All right. So before we get to the agenda, I still see some people joining. So let me run through some housekeeping. We are recording the webinar today. I'm going to double check that here in a second. I am recording the webinar. Good news.
Good start.
Let's see. Yes, the deck is available in the handout section of that GoToWebinar toolbar. As always, we want you to ask your questions along the way. And especially, we want you to share if you're currently advertising on Pinterest or if you use Pinterest. If you've got best practices, opinions, ideas, share that in that question section. And I'll interrupt throughout to keep this conversational. So I think that's everything. Let's take a look at that agenda. What I love about the content Liz and Michael have put together is they've included a lot of the how, not just the what, not just the why, but the things you need to know to get started. So Liz, I think a lot of our guests are familiar with Pinterest, but Pinterest for automotive might be new. So let's get started. Give us some of the info on Pinterest audience and why we should all be paying attention here.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Really, our goal is to help you identify areas where you can better connect with your customers, know who's ready to make that purchase decision and really drive that sale on your showroom floor. And a lot of that includes leveraging some new and emerging media like Pinterest. The market is shifting. It's a time for auto brands and specifically for dealerships to evolve their strategies and reach those 7 out of 10 auto shoppers. So what exactly is Pinterest? If you think about it, you've got Google to use as a search engine looking for information. You've got Facebook that you're using to connect with friends and family. Pinterest is really that place where you go to get ideas and then take action on those ideas. And pinners are more influenced by the content that they see than any other social media platform. This is a huge opportunity to get in front of your customers and drive those sales. And something else that I like to talk about as we're discussing Pinterest as a platform itself is we know next year is a political year, and Pinterest actually doesn't allow political advertising. So this is a key area to secure that non-preemptible inventory without the higher rates as you see from other channels. Just a little tidbit that I wanted to throw out there and keep in mind as you're going through some 2024 strategies. So let's talk about how your customers are on Pinterest and really a way that we can leverage them specifically within the auto market. So Pinterest has this notation that it's only for women. And you are reaching 60% of US women out there, and additionally, 3 in 4 are moms. So it really is a great opportunity to reach those household decision makers and align the right creative messaging that fits well with them, whether that be talking through safety features or cargo capacity, really getting right in front and increasing those eyeballs. But let's not forget about the men out there too. We do know that Pinterest reaches 30 million men in the US, and they have auto as their top interest. The platform itself is taking a turn, and it's really becoming a place for all people to look for inspiration. And
yeah,
we know
it's interesting, Liz. Sorry to interrupt. It's not that I don't care that men are on Pinterest. I'm very happy to know that they are, but we know who's making decisions, and it's the mom and the women. Anybody who works in a dealership can tell you, you got to make sure that mom's on board. You got to make sure wife's on board with that purchase. So it's interesting data, but I love this slide that you've got here because, okay, great. People are on Pinterest, but what about my buyers? What about people shopping for cars? So this is great stuff.
Exactly. Yep, you are spot on. And just a little context too around Pinterest and purchasing power intent. We know that shoppers on Pinterest typically have 2 times larger cart values than other channels. And they spend 40% more than other social media platforms. So it really is an opportunity for us to focus in on people with that purchasing power, that purchase intent, and then really hone in through targeting abilities to reach those auto in-market people or really some affinity or behavioral audiences there. And we know that 75% of auto pinners are using this for inspiration. So they're helping to build their next perfect vehicle. Then it's a way to direct them right into your showroom. And just to put a little bit more context from that purchasing power, we typically see a higher household income based on overall internet users. So this really tends to align well with customers that we know dealers are looking to target. And I'm going to actually switch it over to Michael to talk through some specific strategies for dealers.
All right. So we basically just quantified the number of people on this platform, and we qualified them. They have buying power. And now I want to get into the lean forward part of this. All right, say you're in a multi-rooftop dealership, or you're in a single rooftop, any size, any scale. These are tactics, these are strategies rather, that I believe any dealer could take back and start thinking and working with now. So first, 2 observations that I want to make about Pinterest. Pinterest is, as they define it, a full funnel platform. What that means is they've got people going at the beginning trying to be inspired. They call that kind of a discovery engine. They have people who are trying to be persuaded. That's called a decision engine. And then obviously they have people who are ready to decide, and that is when it becomes an action engine. And what I think is the coolest stat, if you're going to write one thing on your post-it note about Pinterest shoppers, Pinterest searchers, 97% of searches that take place on Pinterest are unbranded. 97%. So that means they are not searching for Honda CR-V 2023. No, they are searching for things like best family SUV and things like that. So I say that out of the box so I can show you 4 things. What can we do now? Step number 1 that you can use Pinterest for very effectively is creating brand awareness. And I'm going to dive into that a little more because we all kind of roll our eyes at awareness. But what you get to do with Pinterest is you get to approach their discover habit, and you get to have them discover your dealership's narrative. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. 2, a little bit more where we're more comfortable as car dealers, we get to create consideration. So this is a discover to decide platform. So in that sort of high middle funnel, we can create strategies with the tech that's available to us to move them from that discover to that decide. Third one, this one's going to be the most obvious to us. This is what we do left and right as dealers. We can merchandise our inventory now. They have shopping ads that are available, and I'm going to show you slides on that. And that is exactly what it sounds like. We can push our feed directly into this platform and get our VINs in front of people. And then fourth, and honestly my favorite, is retention aspect. Retaining existing customers. And when I say retention, there's a little bit of return to market, but I'm thinking more in terms of service effectiveness, a little bit of pull ahead. And I wrote in there a different way to drip. We've all used or heard the term drip marketing. That's kind of that CRM churn. We are in an age now where we have massive amounts of data in our CRM and DMS. And a lot of times we don't know what to do with it. We just dump it into an email blast. This is a platform where we can use that. So going from the abstract to the practical, let's talk about how we could do each of these today. Step number one, top of the funnel, share your narrative. So I talk about build some awareness that stars your vehicles or stars your dealer brand. I don't mean your OEM brand, your dealer brand. So I talk about the how here is storytelling. So on the ad on the left-hand side is from this future Toyota of Yuba City. I want to interject here and let you know these were some of the samples given to us by Pinterest as some of their best practices. So I have not built these campaigns. I'm just working with what I've observed here, and I thought these were standout, fabulous ads. So this Tacoma is always ready. This is a lifestyle ad. They probably took these photos directly from the OEM site. Maybe they take them themselves, but it is this storytelling ad of serving up an ad for, camping goals, or there's a very common search of vacation dreams and things like that. And all of a sudden we can insert our product into this narrative of, hey, the goals you have for your summer vacation, maybe you should start considering Tacoma as a way to achieve them. Now that is storytelling with your product. And I had mentioned in there on one of the bullets, inspire with accessories. Our parts departments obviously are big gross engines for us, and they're not necessarily the most talked about or exciting departments we have. Some of these accessories, OEM or otherwise, are really beautiful looking, and this is a platform where you can storytell, and there could be serious upside for that. On the right-hand side, storytell with your brand. This is Healy Ford Lincoln, and they just take their brand promise and they put in some lifestyle photos, and that's it. So this is something y'all can do now, because you definitely have a why buy, you have a USP, and I mentioned, you could leverage reviews, leverage if you have a great photo team or you take great photos of your location or your inventory, you can start doing this now. And the concept I bolded out there was show how your brand or your photos can enable the pinner to do the things they love. That makes sense?
I just love this. Totally. These are the kind of pictures that you see, and think about all the tier one assets that you're giving. I know you mentioned that. This is how you use those. Think accessories. Think about how you deck those trucks out. But I know, and you've mentioned it. Awareness is great. I love awareness. Landon mentioned in the chat he loves this stuff. What about lease specials? And I want to sell cars. So can I share that kind of stuff? Is that appropriate?
100%. 100%. So this is not just an impressions machine, dump it all up there on the local news and hope someone says that that's why they bought the car. This is the top of the funnel. Let's move into that consideration phase. So I use the term cultivating consideration. And this is an important phrase. I said earlier how this is a discovery engine, Pinterest is, and it's also a decision engine. And Liz talked about that. These people that find their brands and find their products on Pinterest, they have higher cart sizes, they make more purchases. So this consideration phase is very much possible. So we want to reach people who are ready to buy new and used vehicles, who are interested in new and used vehicles, and drive them to convert. This becomes a little bit more familiar with us. We're used to pull ahead, we're used to payment-based, loss leader, all that stuff. So how? We want to drive traffic, and we want to use Pinterest to transition from who we are, which is a very critical thing, but we want to transition from the who we are stage to the what we have stage. And so you can use ads to introduce payments, exactly like Aaron said. There's an example of that GLA lease payment on the right-hand side. And you got to look at this. This has all the steps on it, and it looks clean. It looks nice. This is not just trying to cram 47 words in 4-point font on a little display ad. No, this flows. This looks good, and this is almost like a magazine ad that is served on the phone. And at the same level, introduce models. So a great example of this is 100 new trucks in stock. Say you're a Chevy dealer, you're sitting in a lot of 1500s, sitting in a lot of Colorados. You don't have to go down the rabbit hole too deep and say, you know, I got to move my Colorados, but you get a nice photo of one of your trucks or your whole truck front line, and it's got your brand logo on it, and it says 150 trucks on the lot now. And that call to action is just shop. You can look at this Toyota Marin. That is just their brand promise. Simple prices, simple process, but that call to action, over 450 cars available. So this is kind of that beginning of consideration. So again, this is the what we have, and the what we have can be high level of, you know, we have a bunch of EVs. How easy would it be to put together a nice EV ad and say any part of your brand promise and then 45 EVs available now, or replace that with cars. Maybe cars are the less exciting thing right now, and say 40 cars with over 40 MPG right now, et cetera, et cetera. We're all good at this. This is what we do. It's just this is a new avenue, and here's the big kicker here. This is if you want to call it a display ad, this is a display ad universe where people are not ad blind. They're looking for this. This is served up to them, and they don't ignore it. They actually engage with it. So yes, from all right, let's drive a little bit of consideration. This platform can definitely do it. Now, we're talking right now about model lines, you know, moving model lines through payments, through payments or inventory quantity. Let's talk about moving VINs. You actually have the ability to do this now. This is a very new product, but they rolled out Pinterest shopping ads. And you can do exactly what you know. We can merchandise inventory in Pinterest now. And it is exactly what we've always done. The difference is now similar to I'm sure you've all heard of the vehicle listing ads, or you go back a few years ago with Facebook automotive digital ads. We are having more and more platforms now to show our inventory in a information-rich thumbnail, which is fancy talk for photo of the car, price of the car, description of the car, brand of the car, and then a deep link to it. This is kind of the most obvious part of our media mix that we're used to doing. The difference is now, remember, this is on a platform where we can do this, and we can introduce payments, and we can introduce brand, and all of a sudden we're doing this kind of 3/4 of that funnel at the same time. And I included some data in there. I know it becomes kind of an eye chart, but this is an important piece of data. When you layer in awareness campaigns or multi-objective strategies, so that's, I want to do traffic, I want to do consideration, I want to do awareness, any 2 or 3 of those, there was a 45% increase on return on ad spend and 2.5 times sales lift. And the why behind that is because you're winning the whole funnel. And remember, these people are not sold at the beginning on a brand. 97% might just search for best SUV for a new family. And then all of a sudden they start seeing some, hey, this is who we are as a dealer. Hey, this is the lease payment on a RAV4. Hey, this is a RAV4. Think about that in that almost like subtle way of moving them down your funnel. And as far as proof, I included on the bottom, how do you measure this? We can do cost per click to get traffic. We can do cost per acquisition, which is a fancy word for did they fill out a lead? We can measure that on your site. And we can start moving them from I'm thinking, I'm discovering, to I'm deciding, to I'm doing. I want to look at a car.
Right. Right. I love that. And I love, we're going to talk measurement. Yeah, we're going to talk measurement in a bit. Amy wants to know, I'm going to put your Pinterest badge to the test here. Is it only new inventory, or can used be advertised on Pinterest as well?
Beautiful question.
Both.
You can do both. So it is a FTP feed, and I don't want to make everyone's like eyes glaze when I talk about the technicals, but no, there is no new or used stip on that. You build out
right.
And it updates every 24 hours. You know, we run a lot of VLA ads for dealers, and we get their feed. We run that through a file transfer protocol. We We'll have to modify it a little bit per Pinterest requirements, make sure that it's formatted correctly. But yeah, it can be whatever, and it'll include your brand name in there and whatever the details are. So great question. I love questions.
Yeah, it feels a lot like I just put this in the chat. It feels a lot like Facebook automotive inventory ads. Very similar vibe, and I think so many people have already seen success with that. If you haven't dipped your toes in that water, to take another quote I see here in the chat, now's the time. But as you move to the next section, I got people ahead of you already. Our friend Amber from Leaf, she's been testing Pinterest for Porsche accessories.
Oh,
so
cool.
seems to be working for her. Yeah. So fixed ops. And then Landon wants to know, is there ways to use Pinterest for localized campaign for like service customers? This is a really good campaign.
Put it on T for me.
Right. They prepped you up. So talk retention here.
Y'all are gonna make me look better. Yes. So first of all, I love that the two examples we just got that are live are parts and fixed. Because yes, these are the less, I don't have a better word for it. Please don't email me. They're the not sexy departments. They're the humdrum departments. But as we all know, they do gross absorption, and their objective is to keep things rolling, keep us profitable. Obviously, new car sales, it's a little different than it was 5 years ago, but fixed will always be important and will always have pressure from the OEM to grow it. So I think if there's a lean forward right now, this is your lean forward. Sales to service, and then retention, CRM churn. So what? We can target owners. We can target people that we believe are out of warranty. We can target all of these lists that you all know about, because the OEM's always going to lean on us and say, hey, you got to send them a bunch of mailers. It's going to cost X, Y, Z. You're going to get a 2% yield on this, and maybe you'll get a slight increase in retention. And I'm not bashing mailers. I've experience doing this for dealerships, and they work. But I only say, let's think about a different way to get this message in front of people. So how can we target? On the next page, I'm going to give you a real rundown bullet point list of the targeting ability. But we can do first-party data. We can build lists, and I wrote CRM list there. That's the easiest way to export. If you got a DMS that's export friendly, we can pull all of this first-party dealer data that you have, and we can build an audience out of it. And now I'm kind of stealing my own thunder here, but what we can do with that, many of you have definitely heard of lookalikes. Lookalikes are Facebook's hot sauce. That came out a few years ago. Pinterest has a very similar thing they call an act-alike. And in concept, it's the same thing. The difference is it's not demographic at all. It's purely behavioral targeting based. So we might think to ourselves, we know who our service customer is, but we might be surprised to find if we start serving some service ads to act-alikes in a very specific geo, and I'll show you that in a second, we can start moving that needle and generating more. One of two things. If you want to do a big promo, you want to fill your drive, and you say, let's do a discounted oil change. There's an example right there on that Len Lyle Chevy. I like the ad on the right even more. It's for a tire pro, so it's not for a dealer, but what is it? It's just branding. That is just a very soft sell brand about a benefit, 24-hour roadside assistance. I guarantee you every single one of you has a USP for your service department. Maybe it's, hey, we record custom videos. That is gold on this platform. Some of you probably do that. This platform, you can show it, not just tell them. But one thing that I'll say in regards to the offers, we've probably all been down that path where we've done extremely aggressive oil changes, and we don't really get a big yield. We just get the people who are going to come in anyway. So sometimes the best ad is the same price oil change. It doesn't even say it's a discount. That Len Lyle, that probably is a discount, $49.99 for synthetic. But the example remains, if we're serving this to someone and they see it over and over again and the call to action is schedule now, that becomes a really effective way to do this. Now I'm going to take a pause here and I'm going to introduce a totally new concept. Listicles or list articles. This is something we all know what this is. We've all probably been on BuzzFeed, or at this point our phones all serve them up. 10 ways, 10 healthy foods to help you lose weight, 10 exercises to do this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pinterest is a listicle paradise. And why is that? Because you can fit a lot of information on this slide. So I was asking one of my friends who's a pretty dedicated pinner, that is not in the automotive business. I said, hey, what do you drive? And I knew that she drove a Subaru. And I said, what kind of ads do you think would interest you about service what ads would motivate you to service your Subaru? And she brought up the listicle. She's like, I don't know, maybe if they showed me something like 10 ways to make my Subaru last 10 years. And like I said, if you want something from this webinar, take that and run with it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if it's change your oil, rotate your tires, if it's literally everything that the OEM already tells them, and there's a call to action that says schedule painless service now, that is the ad that someone probably pins and they save so that next time they're thinking, how can I take better care of my Crosstrek? This ad just sticks with them and sticks with them. So I don't want to not fully answer your question. So on the next slide, I will give you details about targeting.
Yeah, for sure. And let's move to that. I'll tell you, your sister sounds like me. I never met a BuzzFeed article I didn't click. And the targeting, this is what's really interesting. So again, we mentioned Meta, Facebook, that same kind of targeting capabilities exist. So talk through this, take a minute, but I'm excited to get to the creative part. So let's move through this, but good stuff.
All right, so we discovered 4 things you can do. So you could take those and run with it. Now I'm going to show you how you can target, what they should look like, and then we'll move on. So what advertising always requires is a message and an audience. And I'm here to tell you this audience is pretty good. And we already talked about that, but Pinterest's ability for you to reach them is actually pretty slick. So their big thing is behavioral. So the 2 ways you operate in Pinterest are you have a big old board, which if you use Facebook, it's kind of like your homepage. It just serves you up things that the algorithm thinks you like. And then you can search. So the search is the real driver here. And there's 2 ways we can target. We can target with keywords, which is exactly what it sounds like. Porsche accessories or Porsche wheels or Porsche tires. There's probably, those are the obvious ones. But here's the real secret sauce for Pinterest. Concepts. You can target concepts. And it's basically like a longer form keyword, but there are so many concepts that are searched on Pinterest, it would blow your mind. I gave an example of car shopping tips. You do this in your Pinterest at home, you will see listicles galore, and you will see advice, you'll see little videos, you'll see all this information. And think about now, step out of Pinterest and just go into Google and type that. What you're going to see is probably some TrueCar articles that are going to be designed to capture a lead that then they would sell to the dealer. You're going to see some Edmunds articles and all the same. There's kind of this nebulous, I got to dig for this information. Pinterest pretty much says, here it is. It's all right here. Click if you want more. So when I say concepts, I think safe family SUV. I think best cars for car seats. I think new safety features. I'm leaning heavily on the safety thing if you're picking up on my pattern because, 3 out of 4 moms have access to this. So obviously there's a huge place for off-roading. The 20 million guys, if you want to look at cool Jeeps or accessorized F-150s, a lot of content in there. But what I want you to take away from this is these are pretty generic concepts that you can work with. Second one in the middle there, dealer data. We talked about customer lists. I told you how you can build act-alikes. You can also put the Pinterest pixel on your website and la-di-da, you're able to website retarget. So those are all things that are available on most platforms. And to your question earlier, I forget who asked this, but yeah, you can do zip, you can do radius. If you want to go real big, you can go DMA or state. So the I guess granularity of this is what I get excited about. We can go pretty granular, but at the same time, we can go a bit broad. And the recommendation is, hey, kind of operate on all funnels. Kind of run one awareness campaign, run one consideration campaign, run some of your inventory, and then run some of this drip and see kind of how this funnel kind of turns over. So to give you a very specific thing you could set up today, you could build a pin and you could target 24 to 34-year-old females who search car shopping tips and they live in a 15-mile radius of your location. And that is about as granular and specific as you could ask for. And you could do it on your competitor, you could do it on wherever you want. You have the ability to target pretty aggressively here. So What do these
Yeah.
ads look like? We've talked and talked and talked. I want to show you how to do it and what it looks like.
That's what I was going to say. And while you're working through this, I think here's what I want everybody to keep in mind. So now we're going to talk content, because this, I think, is the barrier to entry for a lot of dealers.
Okay.
I think we're sitting here thinking, what do I do? Okay, great. Yeah, I'm all in. How do I do it? And Brian Randio asked the question, do you need a good page, like on your website or even on Pinterest, to be successful? So think about how you've got content already built that you can leverage multiple places. So the listicles is a great example. That's a fantastic blog post. That's a great FAQ on your website. So we're not suggesting you take everything and pivot over to Pinterest. It's how do you cross-use that content across multiple places? And then while you're digging in, Landon wanted to know, and I think I know the answer, and I think it's a mix. Does Pinterest use hashtags like Facebook or Instagram in order to get that search going?
Yeah, it's not really. Let me answer that question specifically. So the hashtag was originally designed as a search feature. If you go back to early Twitter, that hashtag, you could click it and it would show all the things that are related. It's kind of a redundancy on Pinterest, because the searches people are making are topics, are concepts. So you're kind of approaching all your searches are essentially quote unquote hashtag searches on Pinterest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think I've read two different things on it where I've seen, use them and then maybe don't. So it's a little of a mixed message. There's no harm in it for sure, but I will tell you it operates just fine as somebody who has searched. You don't want to see my Pinterest history, but it works without. Let me be clear there. So I'm going to get you keep moving. I'll take care of some of these questions in the chat, but talk about the content, because again, I think this is where we get stuck a little. And how do we do this?
And Aaron, you're on the nose that it feels big. And one thing I want to address is, I worked for years at a dealership, at a multi-rooftop dealership as a marketing director. And I know that experience of, if you're right now going, boy, I got to make more content. I feel that pain. Here's the good news for you. Aaron's on the nose. This is just a different platform to publish your content. The difference is, like I said, this is a platform where people are actively seeking things that are relevant. So I'm not saying that you put a photo of a brand new Ford Raptor and then you just tag it with anything you want, like new cars for mom or like knitting tips or something like that. Relevancy is still relevant, but you have the ability to use the stuff you already have, to use the narrative you already have, to use the photos you're already putting on your Facebook if you are. This is not a reinvention of the wheel. So this is a quick rundown on content ideas. If you're taking one screenshot, here it is. So influencing customers, show your vehicles, specifically talk about safety, talk about technology, show your dealership, include reviews. If you want to, some of you do these like testimonials, that would be a great opportunity, a great video platform to show testimonials. Awards and your mission statement. So that's the high level, influence. So let's talk about reach. Show and tell. Those are my two words. Show and tell payments on vehicles. What does that mean? Maybe you got a nice photo of the interior of a Highline car, and then you got the payment in there. That's a show and a tell. Show interiors and exteriors. Show safety features, and show in-stock inventory now. So it's a show and a tell. Shows, what do they say? A picture's 1,000 words. This is a platform where you get to use both. Twitter's all about text. Insta's all about pictures. This is the meeting point. Last thing, engaging your existing customers. I really like this phrase. Tell your customers how to succeed. So what does that mean? I wrote that down again. 5 ways to make your Subaru last a lifetime. Any form of, here's how you succeed in trading in your car. Here's how you succeed in maintaining your car, et cetera, et cetera. People are always looking for how-tos and they're looking for inspiration. And then the last one, show benefits of factory service. I know that one will make the OEM happy, and I know that they produce a little bit of content, or you do yourself. And like I said, I'll say it one more time. If you do the whole, hey, we do custom walk-around videos, this is a great way to show it off. So next slide will show you what it looks like and how you make it. Oh, sorry, I was wrong. This is the last tips. What do I do? How do I make this good? What recommendations do I have for you? Include your logo. Always put a logo on it. You can keep it subtle. You don't have to overdo this like a big overlay. Add text to the overlay. We've already talked about that. This is a photo and a in text. There's no surprising there. Write a description. That description is that little bottom text there. Here's the most obvious one that's easy to forget. You know, drive action. Put a CTA on there. This one's for a nice little EV, and it says charge it. I would rather say drive an EV now, or 25 EVs in whatever the town, in Lakewood, Colorado. And then the last one kind of ties up everything. Help people visualize it. Help them visualize driving the new vehicle. Action-packed images. For me, what does that look like? Take photos from the driver's seat. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Put them in the car, because you all know, like I all know, you don't want to give a pencil unless they've driven the car. You want to get that test drive. You want to get that emotion before you move into anything. You know, this is kind of a digital trial close. Give them an opportunity to be interested in it. So now I'm at the point where you can actually practically design this yourself. So on that next slide, this is what it looks like.
And I think, Michael, too, the right-hand side here is a really good example of what an ad looks like, and it is cleaner. So it's not like a meta ad where you see a lot of that description that's overtaking with just an image. So as we were talking about hashtags here, that's why this platform is a little bit different, and that's good to know.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. And, you know, whatever images you have, assuming, you know, this is the day and age where if you've got an iPhone, you've got all you need. Let's just put it that way. So what does it look like? I've never used Pinterest. How do these ads look? I'm so glad you asked. There are 4 types of ads. On the left-hand side, this is a standard ad. This is a pin. They're always going to call them a pin. The difference is an ad is a promoted pin. It is that tall vertical, and that shape, that dimension is 2 by 3. So the recommended pixels of that is 1,000 by 1,500. Any phone you have, you can shoot in that aspect ratio. So you don't necessarily need Photoshop and a DSLR to start this. You probably already have everything that you need. This second one is a carousel. Same concept, same ad shape, but you can have 5 that slide. I love this ad for dealers. Why? You could do an ad that's entirely for Honda CR-V, and each swipe is the same exact photo, different trim level. So differences between LX, EX, EXL, Touring. Apply that to any model line you have that you're trying to move. Or, I personally like this one better, interiors, the features in each, or the safety features. Here's your listicle, 5 safety features that help new moms the most. Boom. Every car we have now, for the most part, every trim level has the availability of really nice safety features. Here's a chance for you to flex those.
Right. Oh, Michael, I love this. This slide is for me. Okay, show me how to do it. This is a great example of the different ad formats, and as you're talking through what you can use. So carousel, I'm thinking inventory. Like I want to show those multiple pictures. The video, short and sweet, similar to if you're doing a reel, things like that. So this ad formats, but I want you to move forward to the next one because I want to make sure we have enough time for how to work this in for Liz's last section is where the ads appear. Because I think, again, as many examples as we can show is fantastic. So home feed is different than the search feed, or it's just similar vibe?
So home feed is when you open it up, this will be, you see how it shows for you. This is the algorithm populating pins that your behavior suggests you'd like to see. So this is a great example. This person's interested in baking, probably style, and all of a sudden there's an Acura ad in there. So that's probably, they made a target for someone with these interests. That search on the middle there, this is a great example, safe family SUV. All of a sudden you start seeing all these ads. You start putting together a pin in there that's 10 safety features on this SUV. You will get someone to engage with that. You'll get someone to pin with that. And then on the right-hand side, related pins, if they've engaged with your inventory or with one of your ads, they're going to get served up more of the same. So there is a lot of behavioral-based feedback loop on this. And when you start with the targeting that's available, you're going to definitely generate impressions. and you're almost certainly going to be able to generate consideration. And if you've got the inventory, you're going to generate traffic. So let's move down to the bottom. I want to get out of the way because I feel like I'm talking too much. How do we measure success?
You're doing great. I love this. But now, see, now you're talking measuring. And this is what I love. So fantastic recommendations so far. But what I love most is you put this in because, all right, you got to be able to prove it out. And
Right.
One of the things, and you talked about it on several slides, is different goals. What are the goals? So look at all these different ways you can track. So talk through this a little bit. But no, we're doing great. You've got another few minutes.
Cool. So obviously, we want to talk about the R in the OI. You know, this is not a platform where you just write a check to the TV company and you hope someone walks in and reports on a conversion. And why is that? Because it's digital advertising, and specifically because it's this full funnel platform. So we've talked about awareness. How can we build a campaign where you say, Michael, I'm a new point, or we got a new model line, or we're doing all this EV. How can I generate interest on this? How can I let people know we have these cars, we're getting these cars, we're taking order, et cetera, et cetera. We can build this out, and you could say, I'm looking for impressions. I'm going to pick a very specific audience, and my number one goal is that they know this about me. So we build an entire campaign built with a target CPM. CPM stands for cost per thousand impressions. So we set a very specific budget. This isn't going to run away. And we say, we want to focus on getting as many impressions to our specific audience as possible. And our objective is to spend this amount CPM. That's a very contained, very good, broad approach. And you say, all right, now I also want to layer in a totally different ad that's traffic based. I want to get people to engage with my inventory because that's just, we've got a lot on the ground. So I say, great, we're going to build out a strategy with a very specific audience, maybe the same audience. And we're going to put together target cost per click. So our objective is deep linking to VDPs, or maybe let's drive them onto the SRP that has all of your trucks. This is a truck campaign. We've got 100 trucks on the ground. We say, cool, we're going to set a specific budget that is solely for this. And we're going to be able to report at the end, what was our traffic like? How did they behave post-click? How much did the cost per clicks go? Very much like we're used to with any other digital platform. And then the third one, obviously, is sales. Michael, clicks are great, eyeballs are great. I need to sell cars. I get it. So there is two paths we can go with this. Number one, we can set up acquisition or lead conversion. So we put a little bit of a pixel on the website and we say, all right, when someone fills out a lead in your digital retail tool, or when someone fills out schedule a test drive, we can make that a conversion and target towards that. You're all pretty familiar with that. That's available for most digital advertising. Pinterest's big thing that they put a big push in last year is they built out a Pinterest API. And this API has the ability, when you put some tag on your website, you can set up an integration with your CRM or with your DMS, and you can do sales matchback. And that is exactly how it sounds. I know that you've all probably been down this path where sales matchback is available with certain types of advertising. It is a very deep way to go and measure this. But you could layer that in and say, I want to do a third campaign, and my only metric is, did this person buy a car? And there's a little bit of setup, and it requires a little bit of either someone in your dealership who's real good with API or an agency to assist. But you have the ability to report on that. So in blue, it says it. You want to align the Pinterest strategy to your business goal. And the upside of this is not a one and done, one trick pony. You can approach this from 3 very different angles. And you can also layer those 3 angles over fixed. So basically 6 different strategies you can build out today and use this platform where there are people who are actively engaged with the ads, who are likely to not be ad blind, and who are 97% of the time not looking for a particular brand. So when I hear that, I hear influenceable people. So I've talked a bunch. I want to hand this back to Liz, and she's going to talk a little bit more about, okay, we've talked about what it is, how you do it, what it looks like. She's going to talk about more of the holistic approach and how do you add this to what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is all about knowing your business goals and then really making sure that you've got a strategy in place so you have that full funnel approach. I love to hear that. I believe in the chat there was a comment about now is the time. This is exactly it. If you wait, you're late. So we already know that consumer intent has shifted, And really, the research phase is not as long as it once was. There's a large portion of shoppers out there that they know the maker model they want prior to actually shopping, and the number of dealerships that people are visiting continues to decline. So, good reason to get some of those why buys out there and to really stay top of mind for anyone who is a near or in market shopper. And then I know you've heard from Michael that Pinterest is really a great way to reach customers at every phase of that purchase journey. And it's really important that you do have that full funnel strategy in place to continue to fill your sales pipeline while also helping to close those sales. And with Pinterest, there's a ton of creative, a ton of ad units that Michael talked through that aligns with those goals so that you're helping to build awareness, you're influencing those customers during the consideration phase, and really helping to get new customers and drive those sales. And then to talk through a little bit more about our approach to media strategy, there's a pretty rigorous process that we go through here to ensure that we're reaching the right people at the right time with the right message on the right channel. And that really starts with examining who is our current customer. What do we know about their behavioral demographics, their psychographics, all of the good details about them, and then also knowing who are our competitive customers. And then let's take a look at your local market. So what does media consumption look like? What channels are over-indexing for our target consumer? And then from a messaging standpoint, where are those areas of opportunities to align from maybe more of the softer awareness approach all the way down to actually driving those actions and really getting that sale? And then from there, we can pull the current impression for each audience levels within those media channels. So this helps to have us determine what's the total availability out there within the local market for each of those channels. What's our universe? And then from there, depending on those KPIs, the business goals, what we're really looking to do, let's select those target rich, the measurable tactics, anything that we can really have more of the efficient media tactics, looking at frequency to reach those KPIs. And then taking an estimate of the percentage of audience purchased within each of those channels. So this is going to help us with that efficacy of each of the media mix. So aligning the right message to the right person at the right channel and really seeing how can we drive those actions and move the needle. And then probably the best part of this is to really see what we can do within the plan. It's that test and learn phase. So the plan is going to evolve based on not only media metrics, but then also sales performance. So what are you seeing on the showroom floor? What do we need to know? And how can we pivot, make changes, and possibly even test some new tactics or new channels and really stay top of mind and innovative for how we can get additional customers and additional sales.
Yeah, Liz, I love this. And I think this is what we talk about it every month. It's work with a vendor partner who is thoughtful this way and who is working with you in communicating results and data-driven decisions. And that's why I know you and your team do such a fantastic job at partnering with our in-Sierra customers. And that's why it's critical as we look at how you're spending your money. We've had a few questions on, what does budget look like for this? And this is where you've really got to partner with your strategist to say, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? And where is the spend going to be the most effective? So I think on your next slide, you talk about kind of our approach here at Sierra, but talk about other things that dealers should be considering as they start to have these conversations with their vendor partners.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, again, are spot on to say it starts with data. All strategy starts with data. You need to know that you're making those sound decisions based on your local market, knowing who your customer is and how you can really influence and get additional eyeballs there. So as we talk through budgets, or you're working with your vendor partners or even your strategists, those are excellent conversations to ask of, what do we need to do in order to move the needle here? What do the budgets look like in order for us to make sure that we're purchasing a good amount of that universe of the total impressions available, while really having the next action there? And it's going to be all market specific. No two markets are the same, so I can't say you need 20%
Exactly.
in interest. It all depends on what that media consumption looks like. You may be in a market where, hey, Pinterest is over indexing. This is a good opportunity to make sure you're here.
Right. And that's why I get weary when I hear like a standardized national benchmark for something. You always just want to make sure every market is different. So that's a great call out.
Exactly. Yes. And to that point too, of what you had said, the best way to do it is to have a sound cross-channel approach. So that's really going to help to extend your media dollars. And this is everything from reaching customers online from the websites that they're visiting to the social media platforms that we know they're on, or even looking at direct intent with search. So we have a way to influence them as well based on the activities they're doing. So also take a look at streaming audio, streaming video. Really, really good opportunities here as well, especially if it's maybe not something that you have gotten into before. I would definitely talk with your vendor partners, because we're only seeing adoption across those channels continue. And then it's key to...
Oh, sorry, I interrupted. You go ahead, finish. Sorry.
No worries. It is key to continue to optimize your campaigns. So take a look at results, take a look at your sales data, really help from a customer retention with your loyalty campaigns. And then we know that this cross-channel advertising helps with those results. So we do have some stats here, really powerful stats too, of our turnkey media solutions have 52% higher leads. We're seeing higher selling prices, even more VDP views, and then fewer days on inventory, which are really all things that we know are key to your dealership success.
Awesome. No, I love that. If anybody has questions about how to get started with this, if you're interested in working with our team, you can email me directly, info@syncrodigital.com. You can type a note in the chat. I'll reach out to you later. We are here to help and support. So fantastic stuff. We've got a few minutes left. So if anybody has last minute questions, now is the time to put them in that question section. While you do, I will call out a few resources available to you in the deck. Remember, it is available in the handout section now, and we will also send it later today with the recording for all of you to share with your team. That top bullet, get started with Pinterest. It's step-by-step instructions from Pinterest to get started. Shocker, but it's everything you need to go ahead and set up your profile and start, just dig in a little bit. So there's also contact info for our friends there at Pinterest should you get stuck. Check out our blogs, our webinars. If you've missed any of the past ones, the January with Colleen, our Google Whisper, was fantastic. Speaking of, that bottom bullet point is all the Google Whisper content you need. So GA4, it's coming, and it's coming quickly. So make sure that you are up to speed and that you have everything you need. On the next slide, we've got info for our next webinar, which, and I promise this wasn't planned, Michael, but I got a listicle for you. Next month, we're covering 5 ways to increase leads through inventory merchandising. We have some new data that is going to knock your socks off about search results. And again, we're looking at all different shopping sites. We're not just looking at automotive. Lots of takeaways from Amazon and how I think they just took my personal shopping habits and have driven them into action. So this is a can't miss for anybody who's responsible for inventory on your website. Share this with your team. So again, we'll make sure this gets to you in the email. So, all right, let me see. I don't have any questions in the chat. Really great conversation. Michael, any last takeaways, anything we forgot to say here in the last minute?
I would just say, if you are I've explained to you all of the information about Pinterest. I would say the number one reason why I would recommend Pinterest on the napkin math is this is a platform where people are generating impressions and they want to consume information, and there is very little competition for dealers wanting to hop in. In simplest terms,
Yeah.
that's it. This is not crowded. So if you're looking to try something, this is an ideal time.
Yeah, no, totally agree. It's a fantastic thing. Tara, I see your note about the handouts area. I'll make sure, yes, we will send the deck out and the recording later today. Don't worry. So Steve has a question, and again, I think it's tricky to answer, but Liz, I'm going to pose this up to you. What does a typical campaign cost to be effective? Is that really regional based? Again, is it dependent?
Yeah. And even more so than regional, you can look from a regional base, a DMA base, but I think it's going to depend too from a very hyper local level. So if you're looking for actual costs, again, the key part of that is understanding what anticipated costs for those CPMs to see what's the opportunity out there for the amount of impressions that can be purchased and what's a pretty comfortable percent that you would want to purchase in order for it to be a successful test. So I talk a lot, again, data driven about statistical significance. So I will just say if you do test this out, really work with your vendor partner to make sure that you've got some statistically significant sound data to have a successful test and know, did it work? Did it not? Can we pivot? Can we move in more? What does it look like?
And if I'll be allowed to throw in one piece of information on that. So there's a metric that Pinterest talks about where they find if they have any company, it doesn't matter what their product is, that runs advertising on display, Google Display Network, and on Pinterest for the same audience. So again, it's all about scale. If this is a multi-billion-dollar campaign, it changes the context. But for that same audience across multiple sample size, they found it was about 30% more effective. And I don't know if that means that they were chasing a volume of clicks. I don't know if they were chasing a reduction in CPM. But the reason I bring that up is my thought is if you said, I want to start this and I don't really know where or how to put a number on it. My thought would be look at your display. Look at the amount of budget you put into what you would call display. And, I wouldn't exceed that. And I would maybe carve out a portion of that and say, let's pivot to this. And I know some organizations that have tremendous display investments and some that have none. So I think either one of those situations, this could find a home.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
And good suggestion. I know we've got a ton of OEM partners on here today. I think this is a fantastic investment at tier 2 as well. So listen, if you're part of a DMA, have that conversation with your OEM team because it's a fantastic way to, pool resources. And if it's an awareness campaign, but think about the goals there. And I think that can be definitely a great way to go. Well, we've answered all the questions. Liz, Michael, thank you so much for being here. I wish you well. And hey, if anybody's got questions, reach out. We're happy to get started.
Yeah, thank you all for listening, and thank you for the questions. It makes it a lot easier on this side of the camera when people are asking good questions.
Yes,
absolutely.
Agreed. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.